Nowadays, international science has reached the new level of its development, characterized by creation of integral knowledge obtained at the expense of development and active work of special complex scientific trends. Synthesizing knowledge, principles and methods of several scientific disciplines as key problems of modern natural science can be solved on such basis only. The quantum entropic logic theory, built on the basis of unlike knowledge, principles, axioms and postulates of modern science, from information theory to quantum mechanics and relativity theory, has become this very synthesis science. Theoretical foundations of data exchange were laid by Claude Shannon, who had offered statistical value of quality of information. Information theory of Shannon has limited area of application since information function is considered by Shannon as more mathematical abstraction without interrelation with other fundamental functions of substance and does not allow to describe principles of obtaining initial information in the process of scientific cognition. Quantum entropic logic theory considers information functions as material category, reflecting level of internal structural organization of the object and interrelating with such basis characteristics as energy and mass of the object. If we consider electron-positron vacuum model offered by Paul Dirac, in the form of spatial structure consisting of a set of electrons and positrons, then appears of the source mass perturbation declares itself as lack of inertial compensation of these particles taken as gravitational field, but at the same time lack of spin compensation that declares itself as some physical field and therefore is a component of gravitational field possessing identical orientation, convergence in space-time continuum appears as well. In the beginning of the 60s of the last century, Professor Sviatoslav Nestorev was the first one to suppose that spin of particle characterizing rotation of its axis is corresponded by a specific physical field, further known as quantum field of entropy or torsion field. Later on, academician Anatoly Akimov developed this concept in his torsion theory. Theodor van Hoven and Edward Creek tried to detect the field conditioned by spin interaction empirically. Availability of such field would be a guarantor of preservation of moment of motion quantity, just as gravitational field existing in the outskirts of any system of bodies is unambiguously connected with preserved mass of the system. General theory of relativity of Albert Einstein connected gravitational fields with distortion of four-dimensional space-time. Basing on the principle of convergence of gravitation and entropy, Theodor van Hoven created a mathematical model of quantum field of entropy representing a quasi-field generated by cause deformation of space-time. Therefore, Sviatoslav Nestorev and Theodor van Hoven managed to surpass interdisciplinary barrier and to connect mechanics of Newton, Einstein and Planck, electrodynamics of Maxwell and thermodynamics with fundamental quantum entropic characteristics of vacuum. Professor Sviatoslav Nestorev set up a hypothesis initiating the true revolution in scientific cognition of the world. The essence of the hypothesis lies in the following: a value of system organization, negentropy of material system, which interacts with electromagnetic radiation, cannot take on arbitrary or zero values. Value of entropy field of elementary systems must be equal to an integral divisible by certain quantity of energy of the system. Thus, he determined interrelation between complexity as system structure and maximum quantity of energy that can be radiated or absorbed by a system. Each material system has selective interaction with electromagnetic radiation of certain wavelength, quanta energy of which is adequate to energy of destruction of the connection, entropic potential of main components of the system. Entropic heterogeneity of the medium of the material system conditioned by electromagnetic and gravitational fields serves as the source of internal organization of the system. Thus, information exchange of elementary components of the system is executed distantly, associatively and selectively at the expense of quanta of electromagnetic radiation having energy adequate to energy of destruction of the connection, entropic potential of elementary structure of the system. Any material system, mechanical, physiochemical, biological or social, can only be in such stationary states in which energy of internal connection of components exceeds energetic background of entropic fields of the ambient environment. According to postulates of quantum entropic logic, any event, even in the smallest scale of time, with seeming continuity, happens discretely by means of changing phase state of the system. Whether value of the stimulus, i.e. any external influence, exceeds critical threshold, then the value of entropy of the system increases in spurts. Thus, some terminal state of the system, where upon transfer the stimulus of critical threshold makes a break of internal dominant connections, so terminating existence of the giving system as united functional whole shall exist. From the positions of quantum mechanics true break, a final result of infinitely small change is unobservable in principle. One can never say with confidence that the reason indeed was larger than any finite quantity established in advance. Validity of law on conservation of general level of structural organization of system allowed Sviatoslav Nesterov and Theodor van Hoven to explain existence of so-called paranormal events from materialistic and natural scientific position without using mysterious or religious conceptions. Thus, various paranormal phenomena with the attraction of basic principles of the quantum entropic logic theory can be successfully brought to a narrow circle of physical events available for natural scientific studying. With the help of the entropic logic theory, such paranormal events as clairvoyance, telepathy, and adjacent thereto practically important trend of rod detection, rhodesthesia, can be easily explained. Theory of quantum entropic logic admits principal probability of prediction of forthcoming events under absence of any initial information, non-linear forecasting. From the point of view of ordinary trivial logic, the future does not exist, and predictions of forthcoming events are similar to invasion of absurd to scared bounds of common sense. There is a theorem on inherent inevitable uncertainty of phase states in the entropic logic theory. The theorem proves impossibility to characterize a moment of breach of internal connections upon excess of critical value by the stimulus by unified timescale. At the moment of breach, all phase states come to a single center existing beyond the time. Such state of the system corresponding to the phase of terminal breach can be naturally called a time focus. In the time focus, all phase states merge and entropy density of the system tends to infinity. Thus, the system being at the terminal stage can be concurrently registered in any other phase of its existence. Reliability of the forecast of the system's state will be proportional to its entropic potential in the given time phase. Registration of extreme values of entropic potential on the time scale allows predicting with some likelihood appearance of unsteady metastable states in which probability of destruction of the system increases significantly. Experimental confirmation of the principle of uncertainty of phase states had been being provided by Edward Creek, Stanford University, in controlled laboratory environment during tests on prediction of future events formed by a random number generator. High level of correlation between parameters characterizing speed of densifying entropic field of metastable system and forecast reliability is discovered. Metastable system can be imagined as a family of elements in each of which gradual increase of density of entropy that leads the system to unsteady critical state, nonlinearity, plurality of states, chain and avalanche processes takes place. At the invitation of US government in the 70s of the last century, Theodor van Hoven headed the program on creation of electronic devices for purposeful alternation of the state of consciousness and obtaining reproducible psychophysical effects of contactless obtaining information from distant hidden objects. The most of experiments were performed within the precincts of International Stanford Research Institute, SRI, the major laboratory studying paranormal effects. Almost at the same time and independently from studies in US, Professor Sviatoslav Nesterov carried out similar researches in Russia. Experiments in USA and Russia resulted in creation of equipment functioning on the basis of the principle of multiplication of initiating signal upon decomposition of metastable states. Later on, this equipment, as well as analogous designs, was called a common for all group name Metatrons. From the physical point of view, Metatron is a system of electronic oscillators resonating at the wavelength of electromagnetic radiation, which energy is adequate to destruction energy, entropic potential of dominant connections, maintaining structural organization of the system researched. The quantum entropic logic theory by Nesterov van Hoven allows to answer primeval philosophic question: why is the world around us so imperfect? Why do accidents, disasters, catastrophes and wars occur? What is good and evil from the physical positions? In spite of variety of accidents, catastrophes and disasters, they have single general mechanics. Auto-oscillation processes of density of fields, of entropy of vacuum related to alternation of gradient of gravitational and electromagnetic fields. At the certain moment corresponding to the terminal phase, critical level of stable existence of the system in the given stationary state is being exceeded, and this fact leads to increase of destructive processes, decrease of organizational level, and as a result to full destruction of the system. Formation and evolution of substance is an organic consequence of formation of quantum fields of entropy that regulates all physical processes. Processes of vital functions, including higher nervous activity of the human, are no exception. Periods of high tension of terminal fields in respect of biological and social objects can appear in the form of weakening of adaptation system of living organisms, asthenization, delinquent behavior and inadequate sexual reactions, growth of sickness and death rate, epidemics, mass psychosis, increase in crime, economic and social crisis, armed conflicts and wars. But these are periods of high information induction, the time when genius people are born and epochal discoveries in science and technology are made as well. As any material object interacting information with ambient environment, a human generates an entropic field in wide range of frequencies and energies. A biological system with high field tension is able to destabilize ambient physical bodies by its radiation. Thus, the organism with huge entropic potential literally decreases durability of all ambient items, architectural constructions, mechanisms, and oppresses vital functions of other biological structures. A lot of minor troubles that start chasing us and as a rule no more than annoy us, mudded dress, broken heel, breakages of household equipment or car, pretty losses or even theft can be evidences of entering into the pre-terminal phase and serve as an indicator of more stern events. Thus, there is no evil will of the fate in the occurrence of a tragic situation, just periods of high tension of entropic fields caused by objective physical processes in the external environments take place. The theory of entropic logic by Professor Theodor van Hoven points to the true reason of any events hidden from us. A person armed with knowledge of basic provisions of this discipline and having necessary equipment that allows him to know a program of interlacing of high and low potentials of terminal fields, run of good and bad luck, of any person, social or other material structures, with the regard for their mutual influence, is able to control and manage any events in his own interests.